So how do you deal huge damage in the first Descendant? First of all, let's talk about Descendant skills and how you can deal decent damage with your character. Your Descendant has 4 abilities, and there are skills that deals good damage to enemies if you have the right modules in your Descendant. Now let's take for example Bunny. This Descendant has decent crowd clearing capabilities when you pair lightning emission with the speed of light. This is a great tool in resource defense and mind-blocking missions wherein you can mostly farm the components for Descendant parts and ultimate weapon parts. The best thing you can do in the module setup for increased DPS for your abilities is to give your Descendant some skill cost and skill cooldown. Also, if you have a duration-based skill like Bunny's lightning emission, then you can add the skill duration modules such as skill extension. Also, there are modules which grants buff to your specific abilities. If you take a look at each abilities of your Descendant, then you will see types such as Singular, Tech, Dimension, and Fusion. There are specific modules which boost the power level of these abilities. Again, let's take for example Bunny. We would want her lightning emission to deal more damage, and we now know that this is a Singular type skill. All we need to do is equip the Singular as Specialist, and as well as the Singular Master modules to boost the power of this specific ability. Also, there are also modules which boost the specific element of your skills. For Bunny, you need to boost the electric power of her abilities, and you can do this by equipping the Electric Master module. But be reminded that there are modules in the game that can't be equipped when they are in the same group. Just for example, you can't equip the Electric Master if you already have the Singular Master module in your build and vice versa. Lastly, upgrading your Descendant by increasing the max capacity with an energy activator will allow you to get the max rank version of each modules you need to increase the skill damage. And of course, let's not forget about the reactor for your Descendant, which does the heavy lifting when it comes to boosting the damage of your skills. Okay, just a quick story before we proceed. For Bunny, we would want a Tingling Mechanics reactor to boost not just the power of our skills, but also the electric damage. Now, I have a level 36 ultimate reactor already, which I farming the Devourer, and it was a lucky loot since it also got a singular skill power boost. I was a fool not paying attention to what I was currently dismantling after finishing the Devourer boss fight in the Void Intercept. The limited inventory is really annoying as I end up panicking when I saw an ultimate loot on the ground and I needed to dismantle some materials in my inventory to create some space. I ended up dismantling my fucking tingling reactor by mistake, and now I end up with this epic reactor. It's not bad, but the ultimate version with a singular power boost would be insane for Bunny's lightning emission skill. Also, don't forget that you can upgrade your reactor by simply going to the workbench to enhance your reactor. You would need an ion accelerator which you can craft from the vendor named Anna Is. The NPC is the humanized version of Warframe's Foundry, by the way, and now let's talk about dealing insane damage with your weapons. Now, the DPS you see in your weapon is not the actual damage you deal to targets. The one you are seeing in the screen are the unmodded damage. If you go to the module menu, then you will see the final DPS of your weapon. So how do you have such massive DPS in your weapon, squad leader? The simplest answer to that is just equip all the modules that says Firearm Attack Damage Increase. For this case, let's take the Thunder Cage as an example. 21k is not the best damage for this weapon, as I can further increase this by maxing all these firearm damage modules, but I needed some catalyst to somehow assign module socket and lower their capacity cost. Aside from firearm attack boost, critical hit rate also greatly improves your damage. Then fire rate also gives you more damage, but before you put any fire rate mods in your build, you should consider weak spot modules first. This module type is insanely powerful against Void Intercept bosses, and this is a must-have for all your guns. Void Intercept bosses have weak spots, so if you are not high level enough and just happen to unlock the new Void Intercept boss, then best that you always hit the weak spot, which is shown where at the boss select screen. These destructible parts are considered the weak spots of bosses, and with this kind of module, you will increase the damage your weapon deals to this specific part, destroying and downing the boss for several seconds so you can do more damage. Just remember that always hit the weak spot, even the boss is down to deal maximum damage. For Void Intercept bosses like Devourer, you would need to be diligent in always aiming for the weak spot, as you don't want this boss to do that pesky healing phase. Another crucial thing that you should consider, especially against Void Intercept bosses, are their resistance. Let's take for example the Executioner. You will just tickle this boss if you put fire modules in your weapons while dealing with the executioner, while you will have increased damage dealt when you mode your weapon with some electric modules. Now how about the battlefield? How do you know which enemies are weak against fire, electric, toxin or chill? Well, that's very simple. There's this feature called INTERCEPT effect in the game that when you press the tab button in PC, you can scan the target and there will be icons on top of their head which shows their weaknesses. Also, you should know that there are different factions in the game which you can increase your damage by equipping reactors with bonus damage on that specific faction. Just like this reactor with bonus skill attack against Legion of Darkness. The damage boost is not that important though, and honestly, once you finish the main mission in the battlefield, all you will be doing are resource defense and mind blocking to somehow farm the Descendant or ultimate weapon that you want to try out. Currently, players are choosing to not go super deep within this mission, as enemy goes crazy at higher waves or high levels of these missions. For example, in the Vesper resource defense and mind-blocking missions, players will just go for 1 or 2 waves, get their loot and rerun the mission again. This is still crossplay beta, and for players like me, I don't want to try out how strong my build's against stupidly powerful enemies. At the moment, it's better to farm things at the fastest time possible, as this beta only runs for a couple of days. Last but not least, and probably the most important one that I should include in this video, is about your weapon's damage type. Players often miss this important information, especially in Void Intercept bosses. Most of you will run the weapon with the highest DPS in Void Intercept bosses, which is wrong. If you take a look closely, you can see that your weapons does deal a specific damage type to enemies, aside from the element it can deal using a module. Take, for example, Magnus AA. Before the assault rifle text, you can spot a barrel-like icon, and if you go to the Void Intercept boss, you will learn that this icon depicts crush damage type, which the Devourer boss is weak against. Many players fail to see this, and they just often quit in the mission after seeing they don't deal that much damage with their launcher or sniper weapons when they have insane DPS stats on it. This is because aside from the fact that they might have not equipped the right element module for it, they are using the wrong weapon damage type for that specific Void Intercept boss. One last thing before we end this video is that you should also head over to the workbench to upgrade your favorite weapon with the weapon level transmission feature. This is a great tool especially for upgrading those ultimate weapons. Basically, if you happen to acquire a level 1 ultimate weapon, don't just throw it away because of its low DPS. Instead, go to your workbench and upgrade it by using any high-level, rare-tier weapons. Do remember that you'll also need a phase exchanger on this one, a material that can be found from the human foundry called Is. By the way, this feature is not only for ultimate weapons, as you can upgrade all the weapons that you want in the workbench if you have the right materials. However, while ultimate weapons takes a lot of time to farm, and you can't farm all right now given that we only have a few days for this cross-play beta, still, these weapons will be massively used during release because each ultimate weapon has unique abilities. Take, for example, Thunder Cage. This submachine gun has the overcharge ability that creates shockwave after killing an enemy, dealing half the firearm damage to enemies closely. So, these are just the basic information you should know in not just increasing your damage in the game, but also choosing the right damage types and weapon types for each mission. I hope that you find this video informative, and please do like and subscribe to help me with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next The First Descendant video. Squad Leader signing off.